The rain stung my face as I ran through Seattle's empty streets, the neon glow of the city blurring in my vision. My heart pounded louder than the storm, each beat screaming his name, Eli. I'd crossed a line tonight, and the weight of it was crushing me, but I couldn't stop running toward him. We met in a dive bar on Capitol Hill, where the air smelled of cheap whiskey and broken dreams. I was a 27-year-old graphic designer, jaded by the grind of corporate gigs and a string of meaningless hookups. Eli was different. 21, a barista with a crooked smile and eyes that held stories he'd never tell. He'd been sketching in a notebook, his blonde curls falling over his forehead, oblivious to the chaos around him. I slid onto the stool next to him, pretending to care about the IPA I ordered. "What's that?" I asked, nodding at his drawing a sketch of two hands intertwined, delicate yet fierce. He blushed, slamming the notebook shut. "Just something," he mumbled. That was the spark. One conversation turned into late-night talks, stolen glances, and a connection that felt like it could rewrite my life. But Eli had secrets. He'd grown up in a small town outside Spokane, where his family's church preached love but practiced hate. He'd run to Seattle to escape, but the scars lingered: fear of being seen, of being loved too loudly. I didn't push. Not at first. I was falling for him. Hard. And I thought love meant giving him space. I was wrong. 3 months in, we were inseparable. We'd spend Sundays wandering Pike Place Market, sharing coffee and laughing at the street performers. I'd watch him sketch, his hands moving like they were dancing with the pencil. One night, under the fairy lights of a rooftop bar, he kissed me. It was soft, hesitant, but it set my world on fire. "I'm scared," he whispered, his breath warm against my lips. "Of what?" I asked, my heart racing. He didn't answer, just pressed his forehead to mine, and I swore I'd protect him from whatever haunted him. But love makes you reckless. I started pushing small things at first, like holding his hand in public. He'd flinch, glance around, like someone was watching. I thought he was being paranoid. "No one cares, Eli," I'd say, laughing it off. "This is Seattle." He'd nod, but his smile never reached his eyes. I didn't see the warning signs: the way he'd freeze when I called him my boyfriend, the way he'd check his phone obsessively, like he was waiting for a ghost to call. One night, everything unraveled. We were at my apartment, rain battering the windows. I'd had a rough day, and maybe I'd had one too many beers. Eli was quiet, sketching in his notebook, his shoulders hunched. I wanted to feel close to him, to drown out the noise in my head. "Let's go out," I said, grabbing his hand. "There's a new club on Pine. We can dance. Just us." He shook his head, pulling away. "I can't, Sam. Not tonight." His voice was tight, like he was holding back a scream. "Why not?" I pressed, frustration creeping in. "You're always hiding. What's stopping you?" He looked at me, eyes wide, like a cornered animal. "You don't get it," he said, voice breaking. "I'm not like you. I can't just be out there." I should have stopped. I should have listened. But I was tired of his walls, tired of feeling like I was loving someone who wouldn't let me in. "Eli, you're not in that town anymore. No one's going to hurt you here. Just trust me." He stood, his notebook falling to the floor, You think it's that easy? My family, they know where I am. They've been calling. Sam. They want me to come back. To fix me. His voice cracked, and I saw the fear, raw and real. But instead of holding him, I pushed harder. Then tell them to screw off. You're with me now. We're good together. Why can't you just let go? I grabbed his shoulders, desperate to shake him out of his fear. Stop, he shouted, tears streaming down his face. Please, Sam, just stop. His voice was a plea, but I didn't hear it, not really. I was too caught up in my own need to fix him, to make him mine in a way that felt safe to me. I kissed him, hard, thinking it would anchor him. He pushed me away, stumbling back. You don't understand, he whispered. You're making it worse. I froze, the weight of his words sinking in. But before I could say anything, he grabbed his jacket and ran out into the rain. I stood there, staring at the door, my heart in my throat. What had I done? I didn't know it then, but I'd already crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I chased after Eli, the storm swallowing my apologies. The streets were slick, reflecting the city's lights like a broken mirror. I called his name, my voice lost in the wind. He was gone, and the guilt was a knife in my chest. I'd pushed him too far, ignored his pain for my own selfish need to feel loved. I spent hours searching, my phone buzzing with unanswered texts. Finally, I found him in a park near his apartment, sitting on a bench, soaked and shivering. His notebook was clutched to his chest, pages warped by the rain. Eli, I said, my voice raw. He didn't look up. I knelt in front of him, the wet grass soaking my jeans. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. He shook his head, tears mixing with the rain on his face. You didn't listen, he said quietly. You wanted me to be someone I'm not ready to be. I wanted to argue, to tell him I loved him, that I'd do better. But the truth was, I'd been blind to his struggle. I'd thought love was enough, but love without understanding was just noise. Tell me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Tell me what you need. He looked at me then, his eyes searching mine. I need time, he said. I need to feel safe. Not just with you, but with myself. He opened his notebook, showing me a sketch of two figures standing in a storm, their hands almost touching but not quite. This is us, he said. Close, but not there yet. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I'll wait, I said. As long as it takes. He didn't smile, but he didn't pull away when I sat beside him. We stayed there, silent, the rain washing over us like it could cleanse our mistakes. Days turned into weeks, and Eli and I tried to rebuild. We took it slow, meeting for coffee, talking about everything but the future. I learned to listen, really listen, to the weight of his past. His family had disowned him when he came out, but they hadn't let go. They'd tracked him to Seattle, sending letters, voicemails, threats disguised as concern. Eli carried that fear like a second skin, and I'd been too caught up in my own feelings to see it. One evening, we walked along the waterfront, the Puget Sound glittering under the stars. He stopped, looking out at the water. I want to be brave, he said. Like you. I shook my head. I'm not brave, Eli. I'm just stubborn. He laughed. A small, fragile sound. But it was the first time I'd heard it in weeks. Maybe that's enough, he said. We started over, piece by piece. I stopped pushing, stopped trying to mold him into my version of free. Instead, I showed up. I held his hand when he was ready, stayed quiet when he needed space. One night, he invited me to his tiny apartment, a place he'd kept private. On his table was a new sketch of single figure, standing tall, with a faint smile. That's me, he said, or who I want to be. I realized then that love wasn't about fixing someone. It was about standing beside them while they found their own strength. Eli was still scared, still healing, but he was trying. And I was learning to love him the way he needed, not the way I wanted. Months later, Eli got a letter. His family was coming to Seattle. They wanted to see him, to talk. The fear in his eyes was back. But this time, he didn't run. Will you come with me? He asked. I nodded, my heart swelling with pride and terror. We met them at a neutral Spoda quiet cafe downtown. His parents sat across from us, their faces hard, their words measured. They spoke of forgiveness, but it sounded like control. Eli listened, his hand trembling in mine under the table. I'm not going back, he said finally, his voice steady. I'm happy here. With Sam. His mother's eyes narrowed, but his father just looked tired. They left without another word, and I felt Eli's hand tighten in mine. It wasn't victory, but it was a step. A big one. That night, we stood on a rooftop, the city sprawling below us. Eli leaned against me, his head on my shoulder. Thank you, he whispered, for not giving up. I kissed his forehead, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through. Thank you for teaching me how to love you, I said. We weren't perfect. We'd stumble again. I was sure of it. But we'd learned something precious. Love isn't a race to a finish line. It's a journey, messy and raw, where the bravest thing you can do is keep walking together, even when the path is unclear. Eli's sketchbook was filled with new drawings, now hands touching, figures standing side by side, no longer caught in a storm. And as I held him, I knew we'd crossed a different kind of line, one that led to something real, something worth fighting for.